We will start in about 1 minute to allow some people to join us on social. Also, bring the slide back up. And put a mention about Discord for our Plotly community so they can join us as well. Just as a reminder. In case you're interested, we just started a month with community member David Lichacz. David, where is the last name from?
It's Polish.
Polish.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right, we have a nice amount of people who started joining us. So let's get started and bring up our description of what we're going to be talking about today. All right, folks. So, David, if there's a problem with my microphone or the internet, just let me know, okay? Just
no, sounds good. It was a little choppy before, but I think we're good now.
Good. So welcome to the Plotly Hangout, everyone. These Hangouts are a space where you can meet and interact with data scientists and data analysts merged in the world of data visualization, Plotly, and Dash. You will often hear from our guest speakers about their professional experience, the journey that brought them to where they are today, as well as the lessons that they learned along the way. Your participation in the Hangout is highly encouraged. So the more you participate, the richer the Hangout will be. So feel free, if you joined us directly into StreamYard, feel free to unmute yourself or join us on camera and ask our speaker any question that you feel you would feel comfortable asking yourself. And if you're more of a chat person and you'd rather not come on camera, then use the chat feature that we have here on StreamYard. If you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can just use the comments feature, and I will see your comments here below, and I'll try to answer you. Or David as well. Okay, we got a private message. Okay, hi Esther, welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, so to get started, I'd like to introduce David Lichacz, a lead data analyst at Hard Rock Games, where he spent the past 4.5 years building data solutions for the social gaming industry. When he discovered Dash, it became his go-to tool for getting data into the hands of more people across his organization. And in today's Hangout, we'll cover the following. We're going to talk about how Dash solved the Goldilocks problem for business intelligence, like finding the sweet spot between development flexibility and user control. We're going to talk about building a production-ready data portal that goes beyond visualization, and the lessons learned from maintaining and scaling a comprehensive Dash application in an environment where priorities change over time. So we're going to follow these slides, which will help us as we cover these topics. David, I wanted to see before I bring you on here, the camera, if we go into mic settings. Okay, going to the mic settings, please, David. It says like edit mic settings, and then you see reduce mic background noise. So click on that checkbox, and that will allow us to hear less of the noise in the background.
Okay, I've done that. Hopefully that's better.
Yep.
Okay.
Much better.
So there's a little construction going on behind me.
No problem. It wasn't really bothersome, but just in case the construction gets worse. All right, David, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Adam. I appreciate the invitation, and I'm excited to talk to everybody. And thank everybody for joining.
Awesome. So today, you're a lead data analyst, but we often ask our guest speakers what if they can share their journey with us? How did they got to where they are today? So do you mind sharing a little bit about that, please?
Sure. I mean, I've always been in and around data and numbers. I was, a statistics major going back to university all those years ago. Worked in several industries after that. I was in international trade for a while, education. After that, I kind of got into the fundraising space. That's probably where I spent, a good chunk of my time before I was here in gaming. Um, was more interested in sort of the development of tools. That industry can be very set in its ways in terms of the technology it uses. They use very industry specific technology, and there's not a lot of flexibility. And so the opportunity to move to gaming came along, and I've been here for 4.5 years. 4.5 years ago, I joined a company called W Games. That I guess almost probably exactly about 2 years ago, we were acquired by Hard Rock Digital and became the social gaming division of Hard Rock Digital. Social gaming, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, is kind of casino-based games, or at least social casinos, kind of casino-based games, but is not played for real money. It's more entertainment-based. You play for virtual currency. You can't cash out at any time. But that doesn't mean we still don't, want to run a business and make money, and we do sell virtual currencies and things like that. And so from a data perspective, we want to understand user behavior, what triggers people to purchase. It is a free-to-play game. You don't have to purchase to play, but we do want to understand how we can maximize revenues. So that's kind of what led me to gaming and Hard Rock Games, and it's kind of the problems I face currently.
Okay. Now, I would assume, David, that in the gaming industry, data and data analysis is very important. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and as an intro?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much every area across the business requires data. As we say, I'm probably maybe primarily focused on that, really understanding our users. There's different clusters of users we want to identify, and understanding which ones will pay, which ones probably won't, and are just around for the free aspect of it. Of course, marketing, obtaining users in gaming is not easy. So really understanding our marketing efforts, making sure we're putting emphasis on the right campaigns that we're running, which ones are working, which ones are not. We have something like, 300 slot machines at this point that we want to understand. Are they working? Are they paying out what they're supposed to pay out? Things like that. So yeah, data is kind of critical across the entire organization. We're a 24-hour business in the sense that we're always running, and data's coming in constantly. Parse that and give it to the right people.
What would you say in your role as a lead data analyst? What would you say is how would you know if you were like very successful at your role? What would we see? What would the company see?
I think it's mainly, my role is mainly getting that data into the hands of people.
Okay.
So if they have that to make their decisions, to me, that's what's successful.
Okay.
Just getting that into people's hands so that the experts can make their decisions in the right direction.
And who are these? Are they like management or the different departments that need this data?
Well, I think we'll get into a little bit more later.
Okay.
It was management, but I think part of what I've been successful with over the last few years is getting it into the hands of sort of the day-to-day people who are running the game, and not just management and not just executives. So it stretches across the organization.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, let's see here. We have the agenda for today. So I mentioned this briefly at the beginning of the Hangout. We'll see how Dash balanced building flexibility with proper governance, building beyond visualizations, and lesson learned. So in the first item that we have today, finding the sweet spot. David, what would you want to tell us about that? What do you mean by sweet spot?
This is what I kind of hinted at just a minute ago. When I first joined the organization, we had a very enterprise, data platform. It was very dense. I felt it was really designed mainly for the executives, so they understood every aspect of the business. But it was not great for, as we say, the data. We have a live operations team that's setting up things that run in the game. They didn't sort of have the information at their fingertips to make quick decisions, maybe, even like the same day decision. So we wanted to find, at one point there was a question like, how do we get more data? It's just kind of a very high level, say what happened in the game yesterday, so that our live ops team can kind of turn the knobs for today and maybe make some changes to what they had planned. Just giving them some information rather than going blind and guessing at what they might have to do, giving them just some high-level stats so that they can make an informed decision. So as I say, this enterprise solution that we were using at the time, very difficult to do that. It was mainly, as I say, designed for the executives. We would have had to buy licenses for everybody across the organization when maybe they're going to use it just in kind of a lightweight sort of way. Didn't seem very cost effective. So that wasn't a great solution. We probably could have done it, but it would have been costly.
Okay.
We also had it available at the time, I think called Redash, which I think was built on using Plotly for visualization. That was kind of a free open source solution, but the problem there was kind of the opposite. Now everybody could see everything. You don't not necessarily want to share what the executives see with the live operations team. There was no way to restrict access to things. You could actually go in and anyone could go in and change queries and things like that, and actually change the data that was seen, which is not ideal.
Oh yeah.
So that didn't work either. So I had heard about Dash and probably other similar solutions at the time. I recommended, hey, why don't we try this? Created sort of a simple dashboard at first that gave the live ops team that kind of basic information about what was yesterday, and that went over pretty well. And it's just grown since then. It's my tool of choice, and I try to put everything in there. And so it's really found that sweet spot between really restrictive and not restrictive at all, where I could build what I want and only show it to the people that I want.
Do you think other employees at Hard Rock Games will start using Plotly or Dash as well, or they just consume the dashboards?
Right now, it's just consuming the dashboards. Hopefully, we can bring on some more people at some point to help me develop some of the stuff. But right now, I'm the only developer, and everyone else is a consumer.
Oh, okay. So there's no other developers to do that. Okay.
No. Hopefully, that's coming though.
Cool. All right, so that was finding the sweet spot. And then you have this here.
Yeah, so this is an example, kind of a mock-up example. So in my current Dash app, I have a pretty extensive user control system so that I can control what people see. Our current company, we have sort of two main apps that we cover, Neverland Casino and Jackpot Planet. So I have this sort of three-tier, currently it could extend beyond that at some point, kind of a three-tier permission system, so you could have access to one or more apps or both. So there's the app level in terms of access and restriction to who sees what. Below that is what I have kind of what I've called reporting categories, which could be kind of marketing, monetization, product, those kind of groupings. And then within each of those, individual reports that we make. So I built a system where, and this is built entirely in Dash and using kind of just a simple MySQL database as a backend, all built in Dash, but where I can control what people see, exactly what reports and what apps, and what reporting categories. So going back to the Goldilocks problem, would have had to pay for individual licenses to do that, and the other one, Redash, no control whatsoever. But this hit the sweet spot where I can build a profile for each user, and they can only see what I want them to see. And if you wanted to move to the next slide, there's sort of an example of that.
1 second. Daily game performance, bonus round statistics. Okay, so the user.
So this user only has access to one of the apps, not the other. They have access to 2 out of 3 reporting categories, and then within each reporting category, they have access to specific reports. But I can't really read what it says, but in that first one, they would not have access to that
So this is only you have this access to this page to manage everything,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Okay, let's see the addition. This in itself is a Dash app?
It's all part of the larger Dash app. Yeah, kind of one monolithic app right now, whether that's good or migrates in the future. But yeah, it's all part of the Dash app.
Okay, now we have this.
And then this would sort of be the result. So here you have two different users. I don't know how easy it would be to read, but the main takeaway from this is that they're both on the same URL, they're both on the same page, but they see two completely different things. So when they log in, it checks the database, it makes a menu, a kind of a dynamic menu based on what the database tells it, which is really very simple. It's really just a table with Boolean values, true or false, the yes or no, they have access to this or they don't, and then builds a menu, and then they will only see what they have access to. And then giving them access to something else is as simple as changing a 0 to a 1.
Oh, that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay. Marketing analyst view, VIP management view, and all these different tabs, like Mike Wilson. He can. These are different. These are separate Dash apps or separate tabs in the same Dash app.
Separate tabs within the same Dash.
Nice.
Okay. And then that little black tab is, again, it's probably hard to read from here, but they're on the same URL, so they're on exactly the same page, just seeing two different things.
Oh, that's really cool how you did that. Nice. Okay, and then we have this one here.
Yeah, so this is a good example. When I internally talk about why Dash has been useful, I think I come to our VIP program. I mentioned earlier, it's a free-to-play game. Nobody has to play. Nobody has to pay to be able to play. So the players that do pay are pretty valuable, and the ones that pay a lot are super valuable. And so we have a whole team that manages relationships with those high-level players. So going back to the permissions thing, I think this is, Mike Wilson, we can see again here. So this is a page Mike would log into, but as you can see, Mike only has access to the players that he manages. He can only see ones that are assigned to Mike Wilson. If I logged into the same page as the administrator, I would see users from all different kinds of managers. If manager B logs in, he's only going to see manager B. Similarly, the director of the division needs to see everything. He can see everything. If somebody goes on vacation and we need to do something, again, it's just a quick SQL command that will change, and then maybe that person can see, another manager can pick up their users while they're on vacation. Very simple. If someone onboards tomorrow, it's just a matter of adding their name to a list. So really simple management of a way that we wanted to restrict. Only managers could see the players that they're responsible for. Again, going back to that Goldilocks problem, would have been complicated in one way. Buying different licenses for all those managers really would not have made sense for the way we were going to use it. And then that redash way couldn't control what people see at all. So I love this example as a way that we control access. From a Dash point of view, you can see the first one is highlighted. This is just a screenshot, but if you clicked other ones in that list on the left, the graph on the right would change and then show that users in details. But yeah,
but wait, David. Okay. So this is player ID. So your manager either see ID or either see names, doesn't really matter. But they click on each one of them, and then they'll see the bar chart that will change over time.
Yeah, it'll change to that user. Yeah.
Session time, previous 7 days, last 7 days. Okay, so they can see week by week, at least in the last 2 weeks, their performance or their metrics. Are they playing more? Are they playing less? Has there been a big drop? And so, for example,
you can see on that chart on the side, the score based on that. Which users should they be focusing on? Which ones do they need to do some outreach on? Things like that.
Performance comparison, current versus peer games played. Activity score is what you said that it's important for them to look at, because according to the score, they'll decide who to focus on.
Yeah, this is a bit artificial data, but they would based on they stopped playing, have we seen a significant drop off in what they're spending, playing, things like that. Just an idea of has their behavior changed, and do they need someone to reach out to them?
And then they can reach out to them like via phone and email and contact them and see how things are going, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And tier usually in Hard Rock Games is usually based on money spent or number of games played. What is it usually based on?
That tier is usually based on a loyalty program.
Okay.
The overall Hard Rock loyalty program. It's kind of outside of us, but
Okay.
It's connected to our game.
And how is the trend score somehow correlated, or is it exactly the same as activity score?
I said these I just sort of made up. I think in the real case, it would take everything that you see on the right and sort of calculate
Okay.
that
Perfect.
score on the left.
Perfect. Okay. Really interesting how data analysis is used in the gaming industry and how it can benefit the company in this case.
Yeah, and so overall, as I said before, like VIP is where I really think it's been the most value from a solution like Dash, where I don't think we could have done what we've done using other solutions. This was very specific to a problem and was able to be solved using a very flexible solution that didn't exist elsewhere.
Cool. All right, folks, just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to share in the comments under the YouTube video or in LinkedIn or X. Or if you're joining us here live directly on the platform, just use the private chat. Okay, so next we have the building beyond visualization.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot of visualizations, obviously, in the portal, and that's kind of the main point of it. But I don't think I've done anything entirely innovative with a bar chart or anything to show you. But what I do think, these are some of the things that I think, again, going back to that previous solution, I don't know that we would have been able to do in other using other platforms. The two-way data communication to me is vital. Honestly, just what we saw before with changing somebody's permissions. The fact that I can not only read from a database but write back to it. There's so many more things I can do that I couldn't have done anywhere else. It allows me to do some of my own data engineering work and not have to submit a ticket to engineering, wait a week, then realize I need something else and submit another ticket and wait another week. The fact that I can build a job that takes marketing costs, does a bunch of manipulations to it, and then assigns it back at the user level is really helpful in terms of iteration and getting things out quicker. Trying to think of another example. We'll probably get to them later. But yeah, the fact that I can write to a database and not just read from it has been great for me as a developer.
And all of that is included inside the Dash app ecosystem that you built.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice.
But with other tools that wouldn't have worked. Another example is, and we'll see a little bit of this later, but I've just created some very simple entry forms that people can use to submit, and then they can do that job for them. As I said, we'll see an example of that later. But that falls into the self-service user capabilities here, the next bullet point. Yeah, there's some of that where I can just build an entry form and they can enter something into the database themselves without going through me. Another example of that, it was almost, I wanted to include it in the screenshots, but honestly, it was too simple. I mean, just a simple download button where people can download an Excel file that's already been done for them. And I mean, not just kind of a CSV with some random data. I mean, I fully formatted with color and graphs and charts and all that kind of Excel document at one click. I get a lot of people coming to me, I take this raw data and I do this and I format it and I filter it and then I do pivot charts. And I always say, well, don't bother, come to me and show me how you do it. Let me do it for you once, and then you can just click a button and download it. So that has been, that's one of my favorite things too. There's a lot of just simple download buttons that people can get rather than spend an hour manipulating data. It can be done automated once a day and they can get it on demand.
Wait, but what do you mean there, David? Like you built it for them, that I understood. But
Mhm.
so now they go into their page or tab and they can see all the graphs and charts they wanted to see that you built for them. And
Mhm.
then as they can filter the graphs, they can filter the charts, filter the data, and then they can click on the download and they'll get only the data they're looking for.
Yes.
Oh,
Or
nice.
they don't even have to do that. It's just a simple download. If they tell me what they want every day, I can do it for them and repeat it. And it's just that simple, one-click solution for them.
But it downloads also the charts, or they only get the Excel sheet or CSV sheet there.
It can be either. I don't really download the charts much, but yeah, I mean, I can give them an Excel file, but as I say, a nicely formatted,
Yeah.
properly built, not just a simple CSV. It can kind of be as complex as they want.
Okay.
But again, it can be built for the user, right? Like if somebody wants raw data and they want to do it themselves, they have that option too. If they want me to do the work for them, we can do that too. It's all available kind of at the user level, whatever works best for them.
And what have your colleagues said so far about the apps, the dash app that they've used that you built for them?
I think we might get into that a little later when I get into the lesson section.
Okay.
Buy-in can vary. Maybe we'll get into a little. Some
Okay.
people, like it more than others. Maybe let's save that for the lesson section
Okay.
as we get into a little
Perfect.
deeper. But yeah, there's a mix. That it goes around.
Can we have Slack integration?
Yeah, I mean, I almost was tempted to leave this off because it's not, technically a Dash or Plotly solution, but I have built it into the whole Dash ecosystem. It sits in the same container as my Dash app. I could have done, I guess, a standalone script that. So just to give you a little backstory, I mean, so a few times a day we'll send out kind of an update, an intraday update about various KPIs that so far that day. We'll also have some alerts that go out if something doesn't look right, things like that. So that's what I mean by Slack integration. Um, as I say, could have probably written a standalone for that. Didn't need Dash, but would I have done that? I don't know. Probably not. The fact that I had this Dash app that was running in a container every day, and I could easily, in half a day, get a Slack bot up and running, was great. So again, not technically a Dash solution, but it's certainly come about due to the Dash ecosystem that we built.
Cool. Okay, let's see our next slide here. We have our customer segment builder.
Yeah, so this is an example of the self-service kind of thing. All self-service as well as the two-way communication with the database. So this would just be a simple form. A user can pick various features that they want in a segment. They might want to send a particular communication to that segment. So here we can, they can choose various conditions that they want. And I think the real takeaway that I would want people to get from this is, yes, I built this tool for an end user to use so that they can create their own segments. But the real benefit is it's a great tool for me because they don't have to come to me with this request anymore at 5:30 or on a Friday afternoon. So it's also a way of automating your own work. I was the only one who had right access to a database, so they would come to me to create a segment. Now Dash has that right access, and they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
So it not only works for them that they don't have to come to me, but it works for me because they don't have to come to me. So it's kind of a win-win. So it can also be a great way to automate your own work.
Yeah, I know what you mean because I was at Big Brothers Big Sisters in New York City, and that's how I started using Plotly and Dash. I started using Plotly, and then I showed the graphs, and my department was looking at the graphs, and this is really cool. But what I need to change the x-axis. I'd love to change this to see this. So then I said, okay, let me make it more interactive. So I added like a Plotly graphs drop down. And then they changed that, and then they had more questions. They wanted more things to change. So you know what? Let me just build a Dash app out of this. And then that gave them all the power to do whatever they wanted. And it was a win-win, like you said, because they had more access to data. They didn't have to wait for me. And then I didn't have to I had to do less work in that sense and focus my time on other things.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It takes away some of the work from some of the day-to-day, the repetitive work on your side, and as well as giving them the tools to slice and dice it however they like.
Nice.
And
So
again,
this
in
is
this case, it worked great because of that two-way communication with the database as well. So they can create a segment that goes into where it needs to go, and I don't ever have to be involved.
And when they create a segment, what is it? It's like a new tab, a new Excel sheet. What is a segment?
No, it would just be a list that gets sent to a database table.
Okay.
A list of user IDs that's then going to be sent to whatever service we use to send emails, for example.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
But they want a specific group because they're going to change the communication, the messaging or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all it is. It's just creating new database rows.
Cool. All right. Lessons learned.
Yeah, lessons learned. So this first one, demonstrate value first and then expand the vision. I think this gets into where we touched earlier on the buy-in. How have people kind of reacted? I found that the people who were around when when I first brought Dash into the company are much more accepting of it than new people who come into the company afterwards. They will often come in with, well, why don't we use Tableau? We used it at our last company and it was great. And so, I have a PowerPoint slide deck I give them with all those answers, but I still find that sometimes there's that reluctance to accept something new. I probably started by trying to, explain my entire vision. Eventually we can do this, incorporate AI and all this stuff. But it was probably better to just do, as we talked about, a simple Excel download. Show them the value of it. Show them you probably couldn't have done this with your old system. Sit down with me and tell me what you want, and then we can build it out for you. And sometimes that works better than others. I think there's still some people who are a little unsure about it and think, what we did before was better. But really showing them the value has helped considerably rather than giving my technical grand vision of it. Yeah. So sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I heard the first part, the grand technical vision of it, and then that mostly covers the when you were saying the first employees, the older employees have been there for a while, are accepting. Why? Yeah. I honestly thought that would be the opposite. Like
I can understand that. Yeah. I think the people who were around understood the problem, that we talked about, that Goldilocks solution. So, I was able to explain why we're doing this. And then B, hopefully at that point, I built up a reputation of trust so that they trusted me when I introduced this new solution. I had very little pushback from the people who were here at the time. It's largely been those people that come in and say, hey, I used this before. Why can't we use it now?
Do you find that once they start using it, they understand the benefit of it?
As I said, it can vary. Yes, to some of that. And then I can think of a couple of examples where maybe they still have some hesitancy to it. But again, I'm kind of standing firm on it. So they kind of have to adjust. And B, I'm happy to sit down with them at any time and show them why I think this is a better solution and why I can give you exactly what you want. I know you think you had something better somewhere else, but let me show you that I can improve on that here.
And many times people will use the better excuse just because they're used to something else. If they haven't really tried your Dash app, they don't know if something gets better. They have to try that.
I think that's exactly it. And whenever if someone new onboards and I'm setting up an account for them, I tell them, listen, I'm not a web developer. I'm not a web designer. It doesn't always look the prettiest. Maybe it looks a little amateurish in spots. That's all on me, but I think I can get you the numbers you need. And I have been improving the look of it over time as well. So yeah, maybe sometimes they look at it.
How do you do that, David? What do you do to improve that? Are you using a different component library like Bootstrap or Maintain, or are you using a lot of CSS?
No, CSS is a little beyond my scope at this point. Yeah, it's other component libraries. Honestly, that's been my best use of AI in terms of help developing it. Is give me some ideas for how I can lay this out and make it look better. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, but AI, and it's gotten better over the last couple of years. I would fight with it a lot in the early days, and so it wouldn't do what I wanted it to do. But it's getting smoother, and that's been a lot of the big improvement in my look has been AI help.
Cool. David, we have a couple of good questions from Mauricio
Okay.
Onyoro. Um, they say this is a comprehensive system. Kudos. Did you release this Dash app or Dash ecosystem feature by feature?
Yes, and it continues to be feature by feature. As I said, I started with a rather simple thing for our live ops team, and yeah, feature by feature, adding things all the time. I try to do like a weekly cadence of releases with new features and things like that. So it's absolutely been a feature by feature thing, which kind of gets touched on in some of these other lessons. That I think you do need to do things iteratively. But yeah, it's absolutely been a feature by feature thing. I did not have a grand vision when this started. It was just kind of an experimental, how do we get
Okay.
data into certain people's hands? And it's grown from there.
But would it have been possible to say, people were using Tableau, right, at your company? So you
Yes,
know
yeah.
what? I can create exactly the same thing in Dash and then just replicate all of that. Was that something that crossed your mind?
Yes, I say that to them all the time. Yeah. And again, sometimes that gets a better response than others, but yes, that's
Okay.
absolutely my message that yeah, I can replicate what you had. And if you give me a chance, I think I could probably do it better.
Okay. Um, do you have a plan for adding more features?
Yes, constantly. I have a long list of features, requests, some of my own ideas. Yeah, lots of features will be coming. It's hardly a finished product.
How do you prioritize these requests from different employees and colleagues?
That is difficult. I try to use my own, idea of what's important across the company. I get, opinions from other people's, my manager, things like that. But yeah, that's a challenge. There's a lot of people who want data, and some of them are going to have to wait a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely an issue, and there's no easy answer.
And do you have to, like, how much time do you have to spend in maintaining it and fixing any small bugs that come up?
I mean, it'd be tough to give you a number on how much time, but yeah, absolutely, things come up, bugs happen. Yeah, maintaining it is part of the process.
Okay.
Recently, I just had the data just wasn't showing, and I could not figure out why. And it took me a couple of iterations to finally find the solution. But yeah, maintenance and bug fixing is definitely part of this whole process.
And then we have Vimalesh, who just asked, they joined a bit late. So they were asking, and I don't think we talked about most of this. Um, is there like a tech stack or something other than Dash, like um, API endpoints or CI/CD stack or data governance discussed in earlier slides? And if not, is there anything, David, you can say about that?
Yeah, probably we didn't talk about that much in the earlier slides. There is a whole tech stack. That's probably the 2% of this project that I get some help on from our tech team. So yeah, it runs in a Docker container and Kubernetes and all these things that I don't totally understand. But yeah, there is a whole CI/CD component to it. Um, I push my changes, it gets reviewed, and then pushed into production. So I don't have a lot of great specific answers on that, I'm afraid. That's kind of where I get help from other members of the team.
But who reviews your changes? Because you're like the Dash expert.
The Dash expert, yeah, and then our tech guy, I don't know what his title, cloud architect or something, reviews the code, mainly looking for things. Mostly approves it. Sometimes there's some tech things. I tried to introduce like a built-in database at one point. He said, "Hey, that's not a great idea. Let's use Redis." things like that. So I think he looks at it more from a tech point of view rather than
Okay.
in visualization standpoint.
Perfect. Does anybody else here today have any other question or comment for David or I? Let's see, let's look at the comment section. Those are great questions. Bimalesh, Mauricio, thank you. If you also prefer to unmute yourself, let me know. I can have you here join our stage. Okay, thank you. Yep, thank you, Bimalesh. All right. David, is there anything else that we missed that you wanted to share?
We can go through a few more of these lessons if you like, or
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so the next one I have on the list is the architecture decisions. I've said multiple times now, it started out as a very simple one-page dashboard with some views of kind of the last 30 days that people could use. What I did then doesn't work as well now. It works in some cases, but I basically just would refresh our data every day, store them in like a Python dictionary within a data frame. And while that worked for some of the early simple stuff, once I got into marketing where they want, the last 5 years of data, that kind of broke down and things started to crash every now and then. And so that didn't work as well. So we need to make a shift there. So, one of the things I learned is to kind of think a little bigger than just that simple thing you're building, and easier said than done, I'm sure, but, think about architecture decisions early. You're not going to think of everything, but that first, setup I had didn't work. As I said, it didn't work for everyone. It's still there. We'll kind of get into the technical debt here in a minute, but now I have a much better system as things iterate and grow. Speaking of iterative, that's the next point I have on the list. It really goes back to the question of was it feature by feature or just introduced at once? I'm constantly iterating on things, even like the back-end things that people don't see, organizing files in the structure of the project, and how I name files has changed all over the time. You mentioned other packages, like maybe I'll find a new package that I prefer and then start using that one. So the iteration happens constantly. So yes, I'm adding feature by feature. Yes, I'm fixing bugs, but I'm also kind of iterating on things from the past and making them better than they were when I first launched them. Don't have a ton of time for that. A lot of it sits, and we'll get to the technical debt bit in a minute. But yeah, constantly iterating and looking back on, does this fit with what our current process work looks like?
Yeah.
And then that last point, some of that technical debt. We talked about priorities and fast-moving pace. Some of that early stuff still isn't great. It works though, and so it stays. And eventually we'll go back and kind of clean up some of that technical debt. But if we're going to do this feature by feature thing, some of that technical debt is inevitable, and it is going to happen.
All right. Thank you, David.
No, thank you.
One thing that I like to do to end our Hangouts is I usually end our Hangouts with one concrete suggestion or advice for our viewers. So what advice would you like to share with our audience today?
I think it goes back to I talked about getting people to buy in. Some people are a little skeptical. I have just been really steadfast. I mean, as I say, some people have pushed, why can't we use the Tableau? I love developing in Dash. I think for the people listening, if you enjoy it as much as I do, it can really kind of invigorate your career and make work a lot more interesting when you're building your own things. So really just be steadfast in that you are the subject matter expert in that field, and other people who are coming from a different background, and yeah, they have this preference because they worked on it before, but they don't really understand the technical decisions you're making. I would really encourage people to be firm that you are the subject matter expert, and don't be afraid to stick with it, as long as you have a firm grasp of why this solution is better than the others. So I really just, as I say, it's invigorated my career. If I had to use other tools, I would not be as happy in the job. So I would really, if you enjoy it and you think it adds value, make sure you make that loud and clear.
Thank you, David. I appreciate all your great advice.
Thank you.
As a reminder, I wanted to let people know that tomorrow we have our Plotly virtual community meetup of the month, and it's going to be tomorrow, Thursday, at 1 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to join, just write me on Discord or just write me directly on email. We have our Plotly Discord servers, so hopefully you're part of that. If not, I'll send an invite out shortly or the link. Or just write me on email, adam@plot.ly. Again, it's adam@plot.ly. And on Friday, we have our Figure Friday session at noon Eastern time, like we always do. And we're going to talk about week 38, I think, and the data set that we were building Dash apps and Plotly graphs on top of, which is athletes and sports, like the top athletes of their the sports field that they're in, whether it's baseball, tennis, American football, NBA. And we had some pretty good graphs and visualizations for that one. So we're going to see together how we build those and ask each other questions and learn together. So please join us Friday at noon. And every Friday we have this. You can feel free to join us next Friday as well. And if you happen to be in one of the cities where we have our in-person Plotly meetups, please join us as well. We have meetups in Raleigh, North Carolina, New York City, Toronto, Montreal, London. All you have to do is go to the plotly.com/events page to see all the different meetups and events that are happening. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. David, appreciate it.
And thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody for joining and the questions.
Great questions. Esther, thank you as well. Vimalesh, everybody join us here. Ksenia and Marie. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, let me end this.